Hello, and welcome to this week's Weekly Lift. I am Latoya Logan, and I am thrilled to be back with you to kick off our wellness series. This is an 8-week wellness series where we are going to focus on 8 dimensions of wellness to help you understand exactly how do we define wellness in those areas. What are some of the potential consequences of not prioritizing our wellness in those areas? How can they complement each other? And of course, how you can develop a wellness practice that works with your goals and intentions for yourself. For the purposes of this wellness series, we will not be looking at occupational or financial wellness because there are institutions that do a much better job than a behavioral health provider at helping you to really align what your goals are, to set some financial and vocational goals. So please look into resources in your local community to help support your wellness goals in the areas of finance and occupation. For the purposes of this 8-week series, we are going to focus on spiritual, emotional, physical, social, intellectual, sexual, mental, and environmental. And I feel like I said something twice, but I'm not sure. I think I hit that. So for today, our primary focus is really looking at emotional wellness and what we can do to strengthen our internalized emotions so that our outward expressions truly reflect who we are, who we're intending to be, and what we're hoping to gain. Okay, so let's dive right into what is emotional wellness. So, emotional wellness, as defined by our behavioral health field, is the ability to successfully handle life stressors and to adapt to change in difficult times. Now, I know some of you heard that and you are thinking that emotional wellness is a state of being as opposed to a process. We are not always going to be able to manage what hits us. And this is why I think therapy is such a great option, because sometimes it isn't that I have a mental health issue, I have an adjustment issue, something really great is happening to me, and I've never been here before, and I really need to try to find the tools and the skill set to manage this new thing that is in front of me. When we hear emotional wellness, we have a tendency, particularly with this definition, to look at uh, stressors, change, and difficult times through a negative lens. And I really want to challenge you to not do that as we go through this 8-week process. Emotions are not good or bad. They are not positive or negative. They may be comfortable or produce a feeling of discomfort. They may be pleasant or unpleasant. But two things are always true about emotions. Unpleasant emotions can exist in pleasant situations, and pleasant emotions can exist in unpleasant situations. For instance, having a child is a beautiful experience. Like, they just are so cute, they smell great, and everything about them is a huge marvel. And so it is typically a joyous occasion. But that doesn't mean that they won't drive you up a wall. They're going to cry. They're going to disrupt your sleep. Their needs are going to disrupt your schedule and the routine that you may have for yourself. Financially, it may be difficult for you and your partner to navigate that. You and your partner may not even be together, so you're not experiencing this together in this cohesion. And so while the birth and the bringing of life is beautiful, it doesn't mean that there aren't unpleasant emotions that are attached to that. So stressors that are connected to bringing a child into the world, significant changes that you would need to adapt to, and of course, difficult times, because we can't predict what will happen once the child is here. And emotional wellness is really about your ability to adapt to those stressors, those changes, and even some of those difficulties with a healthy perspective. That doesn't mean you're not going to yell and scream. That doesn't mean that you're not going to do at times some unhealthy things. That doesn't mean that you will be even keel as you experience everything. Instead, what it means is that you have the capacity, the belief that no matter what happens, you can get through it. So it is the ability to successfully handle those difficulties. And handling those difficulties may be bringing in additional resources. It may be saying no to some things you used to do. It may be maybe reducing something that was working in another aspect of your wellness so that you can really prioritize your wellness goals here. Wellness in general isn't a one and done. You achieve it and now you're out. Wellness is an ongoing process. And instead of you thinking about it as a state of being that can be achieved, I'd rather you think about it as a prioritization of progress necessary at the time. So emotionally, if you saw that video, it had all these different words: shock, joy, happiness, laughter, frustration, overwhelm, rage, all these different emotions. And at times we need to be enraged. Something terrible is happening, and the most appropriate response in that moment is anger. That doesn't mean that you're not emotionally well. That could mean that you are at your best in a healthy sense. There is, Dr. Gabor Mate says, if you're a kind person all the time, kindness is going to kill you. Excuse me. You have to bring forth anger at times. It is necessary at times to experience and express anger. But the way we do it is going to determine whether or not we are emotionally well. Do we know the difference between anger and anxiety, anxiety and frustration, frustration and disappointment? Because if we're treating them all the same, then no, we're not emotionally well. So when we think about getting to a place where we're going to prioritize our emotional wellness, the first thing we have to agree to do is engage in discomfort. We have to allow discomfort to be present as opposed to running from it. Now, we live in a world where we are pleasure-seeking folk. We are in debt, and we are working ourselves into exhaustion, and we are spending more money than we've ever spent before because we think this next thing is going to provide some level of comfort that will protect us from trauma, that will protect us from depression. You can't outwork trauma. You can't outwork emotional unwellness. You have to allow it to exist and really engage in it so that you understand what's provoking the emotions at the time. So allowing discomfort means that you don't run away from unpleasant feelings. Instead, you sit with them and you ask yourself, where is this really coming from? If you're in a car and you're driving and every driver is just pissing you off, this person can't drive it. It's probably you left out late. It's probably you didn't plan accordingly. It's probably you're frustrated or stressed or thinking about something else that has nothing to do with you driving. But the driving becomes the place in which you can express that discomfort. So if we're going to get to emotional wellness, it's okay, I'm going to allow this discomfort and I'm going to allow myself to pinpoint, to identify where it's coming from. Because once I actually know where the discomfort is coming from, then I can do something about it. It might mean, you know what, I need to be better with my time. It might mean it's okay to be anxious about this thing that's coming up because it might not work out. But telling yourself that would be okay. We don't want to get into a place where we think every single day we're supposed to be happy and joyous and smiling and it's okay and nothing is bothering me. That's kind of like you would be a sociopath. Things should bother you. You should be impacted by life because that's a full, well-rounded person. Somebody who, you see injustices and you, wow, that hit me here. You see joy and you go, wow, that's amazing. It's okay to be impacted by what's happening externally. We just have to make sure we're not internalizing those things and then creating a thought process or allowing it to dictate how we're engaging with other people. The next thing we want to do is set boundaries. Now, I know people who set boundaries in really interesting ways, and it's not healthy. They think it is, but it isn't. So I want you to set your boundaries rooted in your healing, not your trauma. Boundaries that are rooted in your healing, not your trauma. So if you're a person who says something like, I don't trust anybody, you can't trust people, so I don't deal with people, I stay away. That's not a healthy boundary. That is a boundary that is determined by your trauma. You have experienced in your history where people have used you, lied to you, disappointed you, and maybe have even abused you. And so now you are taking the perspective that every encounter is to be met with that same energy. And that makes absolutely no sense, because what you're in effect doing is rejecting. You are self-rejecting from the potential and possibility of love, of healthy connection, of support system. I get it. We all have life's evidence of really terrible things that people can do in this world. We all are witnessing very terrible things every single day happening in this world. But that does not mean that every single person that you encounter has those intentions or will engage in that behavior. So we want our boundaries to reflect our healing. This requires you to trust yourself, that you can keep yourself safe, that you can assess a person's behavior and make a decision based on that. It also means that you don't always have to be on. You don't have to be perfect. I am a strong believer of strategic no's and thoughtful yeses. Okay? Or you can flip that. Strategic yeses and thoughtful no's, however you want to be. But the point is that you're bringing intentionality into every yes. You're bringing intentionality into every no. It isn't just a blanket across the board. Because I've gone through something, this is the way that I'm going to treat every new thing that comes to me. So when you're working between this week and next week on your wellness, particularly focusing on your emotional wellness, I want you to try to sit and ask yourself, what are you feeling? What are you feeling? Now you might pull on the quick ones: anger, sadness, happiness. I'm okay, I'm fine. I'm going to challenge you to not use words like good, fine, okay, cool, because those are non-descriptive words when it comes to emotions. I want you to really dig deeper. If you're sitting there and you're feeling okay, go a little deeper. Are you feeling a little detached? Are you feeling a little unmotivated? And ask yourself, where is that coming from? And this can exist too in pleasant situations. You could have something really great going on. You've expanded your business, you're about to get married, but you still have that feeling of, something's happening. Allow yourself to investigate a little bit more so that you can make healthier decisions moving forward. I want to introduce to you two things that can help with emotional centering or mindfulness. The first thing are my meditative beads. I have some in my office where I am right now. There are some in my home, and then I have some hanging from the window, the mirror of my in my car, because I do struggle with road rage. I'm working on it. So what you would do with your beads are to think about how you feel, and then think about how you want to feel. So let's say you're feeling anxious because you think something is going to fail, or you're not sure how it's going to work out. You grab your beads and you set the intention. I believe no matter the outcome, I will get through this. Right? That's your intention. And then you say the thing, a statement, an affirmation, and mantra to get you back together. Now, my mantra that I use to keep me grounded is, I don't have to be perfect. I just need to be present. So I pull this, and that's what I go through. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be present. And I work my way until I get all the way around to the other side. If you do that, you have to close the door. You can do this in your car. You can do this in a bathroom stall. Do it until you get around. I promise you, your heart rate will decrease. Your breathing will begin to normalize, and your brain will start to release endorphins, which will make you feel better. The other thing I like to introduce are aromatherapy. This is real simple. And you can get this anywhere, Amazon. You can get this at probably your local convenience store, CVS, Rite Aid, any of those places. I got this from Rite Aid. This one has 12 different aromatherapies. It tells you at the top what each aromatherapy is best for in terms of support. And then you just pick it, you open it up, you inhale, and you set your intention. You can dab some on the middle, just make sure you're not allergic, or you can use it in a diffuser. I have my diffuser going right now, and lemongrass is in there. It's one of my favorites to use because it just creates a feeling of calm. So you have that deep breath, you inhale, right, the intention, calmness, and you exhale the anxiety. And you do that until you start to notice that you're feeling lighter and calmer. Again, these are two very simple things you can do that are inexpensive, and you can do them anywhere, your car, your office, your bathroom. So I want you to try, pick something and work on that between now and next week. Next week, we are going to be focusing on physical health. I hope this is beneficial for you, been beneficial for you. If you have any comments, please make them. If you have questions, I would be happy to answer any questions you may have. But I hope that you have a very lifted week. Take very good care of yourself.